with the 2019 NBA Draft just one day away. I'm here to share with you my mock draft. Every draft, there's stars taken off the board, there's busts taken early. And I'm going to tell you which team is going to take the star and which team is going to take the bust. Let's go right into the number one pick. The New Orleans Pelicans have it. It's going to be Zion Williamson. 6'6", a prototypical small ball 4 or 5. And we know his athletic profile. We know what he can do on the court. We know the dunking ability that he has. But he's more than that. He's great in transition. And he attacks the basket and finishes with ease. We all know he's going to be the number one pick. There's no dispute about that. New Orleans, it's a bright future for them. Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. Now Julius Randle will be an unrestricted free agent. With Zion Williamson, we're talking like he's going to be the next Michael Jordan. Let's hold the phone a little bit. Zion Williamson is a Hall of Fame caliber player. He's not going to be an all-time great, but he's going to be an all-time first at what he does. What he is, you get some Blake Griffin, you get some Charles Barkley, add water, stir. You got Zion Williamson. Outside of the 2003 draft featuring LeBron James, I'd say this is the most certain we've ever been of who's going to be the number one pick. There's no doubt. Some people want to say Ja Morant. They're just doing that for the headlines. Some people say RJ Barrett's a better player. That's not true. Zion Williamson is the number one pick. Number two, how about Memphis? About an hour before I'm recording this, they trade away Mike Conley to Utah. So they'll have the 26th pick in this draft as well, I believe. And they're going to take the point guard of their future, and that's Ja Morant. We're talking about Russell Westbrook. That kind of athleticism, that kind of ability to take it to the rim, to finish. You know, the number one and number two picks, they're fun to watch. They're great finishers. It's a great dunk contest if we get to see it next year. But Ja Morant, he's not a great shooter. He can shoot it though. He's a guy capable of putting up triple doubles night in after night out. We see his ability in transition, just like Zion. But this time, it's finding his teammates. Oh yeah, did I mention his athleticism? So Memphis is going to take the point guard of their future, and that's Ja Morant out of Murray State. Now we're going to talk about the New York Knicks. We know the struggles they've been through. We know they traded Kristaps Porzingis, who was on a rookie deal, just so they could open up another max slot. And they probably won't even get 2 max free agents. They're going to take RJ Barrett at 3. Now this has been a trending thing to say that Darius Garland might be picked by the New York Knicks, and there's serious interest. But it's going to be RJ Barrett. I don't think they're going to go for Darius Garland. However, I don't think that would be a terrible move. But RJ Barrett's a guy, he's an excellent shooter, although he can improve. He's a scorer, 23 a game at Duke, playing alongside Zion Williamson, playing alongside Cam Reddish. That's a guy who's a natural scorer. He was going to be the number one pick if none of these guys went to college and we didn't get to see what Zion Williamson was able to do. But he's a pure scorer. You add a little bit of DeMar DeRozan, a tiny bit of touch, just a little sprinkle of James Harden, and you get the little bit of Andrew Wiggins thrown in there, and that's RJ Barrett for you. Now those are the consensus top 3. Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, RJ Barrett. Now this is where it starts to get questionable, because the New Orleans Pelicans have the pick, where they got from LA from the Anthony Davis trade. And I don't think they're actually picking. I think they're going to trade this pick. So this is why I'm, doing my mock draft. I can't do it too late, otherwise you guys won't have time to watch it. And I'm thinking it depends on who the pick goes to. But I'm going to bet that they trade the pick, and that the 4th pick will be Darius Garland out of Vanderbilt, point guard. I mean, he's Damian Lillard, right? He's going to make an All-NBA team. I can guarantee that in his career. People talk about a 3-man draft. Don't sleep on Darius Garland. His shot-making ability, unlike anybody else. You cannot go under pick and rolls with him. He can attack the basket. Although he needs to work on a little bit of finishing, just as RJ Barrett needs to. He only played a handful of games at Vanderbilt because of a torn meniscus. But he's going to come back healthy, and he's going to be a splash of a pick in the NBA. I think teams are going to trade up to get him. I think New Orleans will trade this pick. So, at the 4th pick, I don't know what team, but it's going to be Darius Garland. And there's talks of him going in the top 3. And I would not sleep on them. I don't think it's going to happen. But those are legitimate, real reasons. And we know New York's history of sleeping on the consensus top draft pick. Just like, the Giants just ignored Dwayne Haskins, took Daniel Jones. We could see Darius Garland go to the Knicks, where they just ignore RJ Barrett, which I don't think would be the worst thing. But Darius Garland, aka the next Damian Lillard, is going to be the 4th pick in the draft. And he is my favorite prospect out of these guys. Now, I would still take Zion I think he's the best. And Ja Morant a little bit better. But Darius Garland is my guy. Remember that. And at the number 5 pick, I think we know who it's going to be. It's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if New Orleans takes the pick, at pick 4, I think it's going to be DeAndre Hunter, because it's more of a need. But I think a team trades up to get Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter is available at 5 for Cleveland. We're talking about a guy who erupted in the national championship game to lead his Virginia Cavaliers while scoring, I believe, 29 points it was in that national championship game, matched up against a Jarrett Culver, who we'll talk about in a minute. He's a much improved shooter from his past. He can shoot the ball, but what I love about DeAndre Hunter is his ability on defense. This is we always talk about the offense in this league. Curry, splashing threes, flopping. Well, that's a different story. But a guy like Curry can't defend. DeAndre Hunter is an amazing defender. He's very physical, both offensively and defensively. He uses his strength to get into the paint and finish. And he's a solid touch. Now the only issue, he's not a good ball handler, struggles with his left hand. But hey, every prospect has an issue, and that's DeAndre Hunter's. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to take a guy that I think really complements their young star in Colin Sexton. Now let's talk about the 6th pick of the draft, the Phoenix Suns. If you want to talk about a team that could trade up to New Orleans pick, it could be the Phoenix Suns. They need a point guard. And if Darius Garland goes at 4, they're going to be stuck looking at a lower tier of point guard, just a little bit, a notch lower, and that's going to be Coby White. Now, Jarrett Culver is a better prospect, in my opinion. Phoenix so desperately needs a point guard. So I think they're going to have to, take a little small reach, take Coby White, because of his explosiveness. The John Wall kind of explosion, acceleration, 0 to 60 speed. He has that excellent court vision and his ability to run the floor in transition. A lot of these guys are really great at running the floor, but especially Coby White. An ability to knock down a 3, not super well, but he can do it. And we're talking about an absolute spark plug in the open court in Coby White, a kind of a combo guard. I'd see him, I think he could play point guard alongside Devin Booker, and that's why I think the Suns are going to take him at 6. For the 3rd straight year, the Chicago Bulls are going to be picking at 7. And this time they're going to land Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. Kind of a shooting guard, small forward-esque player. He can knock down a 3, but he's an excellent defender. And he majorly improved from his 1st year to 2nd year at Texas Tech. He's not as much of a positional need for Chicago. I think they need a point guard. But Coby White's off the board. Darius Garland's off the board. Ja Morant's off the board. I think they'll take the best player available, and that's Jarrett Culver. Now here's where things get interesting again, because Atlanta has picks 8 and 10. And we're going to talk about 8 in a second. But this is, when you see teams have multiple picks in the 1st round, that's when you could really package to trade up. And that's what we might see out of Atlanta on Thursday night. But if they don't, they're going to take Cam Reddish out of Duke. He's a small forward. He can shoot it. He third-wheeled to Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and he really disappeared out of games. That's why he's going to fall this far compared to what we thought from the beginning of the year as potentially a 3rd or 4th pick. But a great natural touch, a nice dribble pull-up, 6'7", with really long arms, kind of a Brandon Ingram-esque, but not as thin. But that physical profile could really help him on the defensive end, which he could be a great defender, kind of like a Kevin Durant. But he has a lot of potential, but there are the question marks, and that's why he's going to drop to number 8. At 9, that's a team I'm pretty familiar with, the Washington Wizards, my team. And how about the first international player off the board, Sekou Doumbouya out of France. He's a power forward. Now, he's not NBA ready off the bat. He's not a guy that's going to win Rookie of the Year. He's pretty raw. He didn't shoot it well in France, only about a 30% three-point shooter. But when I've watched his workouts. My goodness, my grammar today. And he has a natural touch. That's what I like about him. So we're talking about Doumbouya, who is huge upside, but a low floor, bit of a risk. I think the Wizards will take it. I'm going to start talking quicker, because we're already at 10. Atlanta, their 2nd pick. And I'm going to take rim protector Jackson Hayes out of Texas, 6'11.5 with 7'3.5 wingspan. He's the guy that's going to finish lobs at the rim, block shots at the rim, and get boards at the rim. I really like this comparison that ESPN's draft scout Mike Schmitz gave him. He's like Clint Capella. His ability to block shots, like I said, finish lobs that James Harden is throwing him. Never really steps out to take a mid-range jump shot or anything. All of his work is done around the tin. Let's move on to another pick I think is in play in a trade. That's Minnesota's number 11. But if they don't trade it, they're going to take Nasir Little, small forward out of North Carolina. You know what's weird about him? He didn't even start at North Carolina. That's mainly due to their excellent backcourt, Luke May, Cam Johnson. But just like Patrick Beverly, I see him as a pit bull defensively. When they play Duke, he's like, Coach Williams, I want to guard Zion Williamson. I want to compete with the best. He has a solid three-point shot, but he attacks the rim, finishes well for his position at a small forward. But I love his two-way ability. But like I said, Minnesota could trade this pick. That's kind of the rumor mill. So I don't know who's actually picking here, but I think it will be Nasir Little. Alright, a team stuck in no man's land. That's the Charlotte Hornets. Listen, they need everything. Their best player is Kemba Walker, who might leave in free agency. Their second best player is Jeremy Lamb. So they clearly have position needs all over the board. It's going to be the first of our Gonzaga power forwards going in this draft. Rui Hachimura. Similar measurables as far as size as Kawhi Leonard, but he's really an inside force, a true power forward, guy that's going to get all of his money inside the three-point arc. He's a solid defender and has a solid touch from inside that paint. His main problem is that height. He's a little bit undersized for a guy that's going to be down low constantly, playing a little bit like a center, as he's just 6'8". Okay, now let's go to the last two picks that we're going to cover in today's draft. 13, Miami, Romeo Langford out of Indiana. Missed the NIT with a hand injury. That's healed by now. He's a small forward shooting guard, 6'6", 215 pounds, but he's an excellent shot creator. And finally, let's talk about Boston. They might trade this pick potentially for like a Clint Capella, but if they don't, maybe Brandon Clark. How about him out of Gonzaga, the second power forward out of Gonzaga that we're going to mention. Great in the paint, really great touch from mid-range, kind of a true post player. A guy that reminds me a little bit of an Al Horford, who's probably going to walk in free agency, so they can fill that void with Brandon Clark. This is a draft with 4 guys I think are really all-star, all-NBA caliber players. There's some, unknowns like Bol, who I didn't even talk about, but this should be a fun one on Thursday night. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. That helps out a lot. Maybe leave a like, comment draft in the comments so I know you watched the whole thing, DRAFT, if you're not in kindergarten yet. But I hope you did enjoy. Have a wonderful day. I'm your host, Evan. I'm out. Peace.